So that's what the infrastructure can do. It saves time. It saves time for you. These are our ICUs. So if you see each cubicle, these are one of its kind in South Gujarat. We have introduced this concept where we're having cubicles. Each cubicle has, I was just meeting one of the doctors outside and he told me that if your ICU doesn't have natural light, then it's no ICU because it leads to ICU psychosis if the patient is there. These ICU cubicles have a provision of natural light coming into the cubicles. So what it prevents, the patient is always oriented to the day, he knows it's a day or it's a night, and if you see they are seamless OTs, they are seamless ICU cubicles. So it prevents attraction of any dust or bacteria. These are all infrastructure. So where infrastructure is important is you need the right kind of infrastructure to promote good quality healthcare. You must invest in technology because ultimately, I'll tell you a small story about this machine, what happens. This is the eco machine that we had, and this is the sonography unit that we had. What happened is there was a female who was bleeding since last 3 days, and she had gone to n number of, she got a sonography done at n number of places, and then she came to my hospital. And our sonologist told us that the retained placenta, the female had gone for a medical termination of pregnancy like 3 months back, and there was a placenta retained which no unit could identify. But if you invest in technology, it pays. I think the second biggest ingredient is human resource. So you need to put the right people into the job. So what does human resource consist of? You need to have a good recruitment process. Your job descriptions are supposed to be properly defined. You should have proper induction. Now this is very important. This is where I feel that most of the organizations lack in. I think there's some problem with this slide. Okay. Anyways, I'll just explain to you. So what happens is you get a person into your organization, but first of all, what happens? He should be inducted to your organization. Then he should be given a departmental induction. Then you should do his training assessment. Not every employee which joins you on the first day of your organization is not the best at what he does. But you need to do some training assessment in his weak areas. And then you're supposed to make sure that the gentleman is trained in whatever his weak areas are. The other biggest challenge healthcare is facing is between candidate recruiting and employee retention. There's a problem. That how could she got promoted after 6 months when she had been there for a year. So these are serious issues which healthcare is facing. That you need to have proper processes in place, and you have to retain the staff. This cartoon shows you that employees do give in, and especially doctors and the paramedical staff do give in a lot of their hard work, and it is the responsibility of the organization to provide them with the best of the working environment. Now let's come to the processes. So I'll just give you how we are progressing. We first discussed what is quality. Then we discussed what are the ingredients of quality. In ingredients of quality, we discussed infrastructure, we discussed HR, the machine, the right man behind the machine, and now the process. Total quality management, continuous quality implementation, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, aggregations. I'm not here selling neither NMEH nor any system. What I'm trying to say is that when you are running a center or when you are getting empaneled with a center, you must, if you have your own center, you should have the systems. If you are getting empaneled with a system, with an hospital, then you must ask for the systems. You must ask them, do you have these manuals? Do you have all these aggregations? Do you have these systems in place? The first thing is that if you're truly committed to quality, then almost any mechanism will work. So you need a commitment to quality. If the top management has commitment to quality, then any process would work. But if we are not, then most elegantly constructed mechanisms will fail. So commitment from the top management. Every hospital healthcare center should have a quality team. They should define key improvement objectives. They should have a quality policy and a quality manual. In this presentation, I'm also going to tell you how to make a manual. There's a lot of fuss about these manuals, a lot of hospitals, a lot of centers feel that we need guidance on how to prepare these kind of quality manuals. So what TriStar does is we have a different cell where we help centers to develop these manuals. So that means the top management has to be sensitized to quality, and then it has to trickle down to the last man. Then you have to integrate all the systems, define criteria, standard for improvement. Periodic audits, survey. Once you put a system in place, then the periodic audits, surveys and drills, and then you have to keep reviewing it, review all the systems that are in place. What is accreditation? A lot of people talk about NABH and all these kind of accreditation, ISO, and what does these accreditation do? There is for OSAs, for centers, for occupational health centers. So what is basically an accreditation? Accreditation is a public recognition of achievement of accreditation standards by a healthcare organization, demonstrated through an independent external assessment of that organization level of performance in relation to the standard. That means there are some set standards. Somebody else is going to come and assess you on those standards, and it's an independent assessment of your healthcare facility by an independent organization. What are the various accreditation bodies? JCI, US, NABH, India. NABH is actually a member of International Society for Quality. Now let's come back to making these processes. Documentation. Documentation is the most important part of making process in any healthcare center. So that means you have to do what you say what you do, write what you do, and do what you write. This is the thumb rule. For any good management system, you have to document whatever you do. The biggest challenge that I have faced in my career is that making clinicians, especially making doctors, to do this, this paperwork. They never sign, name, date and time the treatment plans. Now this is the basic thing, documentation that is required for quality to follow. So these are certain things that we need to implement if we are thinking of quality. What is NABH? NABH is an independent body, it's a part of QCI, and it just gives a little brief about NABH, so I'll just run through these slides. It says that how to get NABH accredited. You have to obtain a copy from Delhi, and then they'll give you a toolkit, you assess yourself, then they'll do the pre-assessment, then they'll give you a feedback on where to improve. You can improve and then do the final assessment, and ultimately you are accredited. Okay, so when I was talking about manuals which we help other people make, and what we have at our facility, and which every healthcare facility should have, comes the front office manual, the accident and emergency department manual. A lot of vital time is wasted if you don't have these processes in place. If there is an accident, if there is an emergency, you should define what is the pre-assessment, what is the preliminary assessment of that patient is going to be. So that is going to be done by the clinical team of the hospital. If you have an ICU or if you have an OT, then you should define what should be done, what should be the pre-operative assessment of the patient. Then there are a lot of manuals. All these manuals become a part of your system, which includes laboratory, radiology, pharmacy, quality, dialysis, physiotherapy, ambulance, billing, marketing, whatever. Whatever departments you have, you must have a manual. What are the various procedures and policies now, which every healthcare center should have? Registration and admission. Now you should define it to OPD, IPD, and your emergency admissions. What kind of an initial assessment? Who is supposed to do that initial assessment? What kind of initial assessment is required? For example, if it's an OPD-based patient, what kind of initial assessment is required for that patient? If it's an emergency patient, what kind of initial assessment are you looking for that patient? Similarly, if you don't have beds, or if you have to shift a patient to higher center, now there is something which happens in occupational centers very often. What happens is that the patient, there is a trauma. Now, while the patient is supposed to be shifted to a higher facility, so who's going to accompany the patient? Now that should be very clearly defined. And what kind of medicine should accompany the patient? The ambulance which the patient is traveling should have a control and should be directly should have a communication with your occupational health center. So you make sure that whenever a patient is shifted, you call up the facility and know the availability of beds. So these are the small little things that a hospital or an occupational health center need to have in case they are planning to bring quality. The discharge of the patient. There are certain things which every organization should outline, that when a patient is discharged, what are the 5 things that you want in the discharge summary of the patient. We find it very difficult if the patient has got some preliminary treatment at an occupational health center the discharge summary or the transfer summary never has the details that what was given to the patient in that occupational health center. How did the patient present it? With what kind of a picture? What was done for the patient? What were the medications already given? So these are the things that you need to work on, that all of us need to work on to bring quality. Pain management, CPR, end of life care, rehabilitative services, high risk medication policy. You should define what are the medicines which are high risk, and there should be a policy on who should give them, who should authorize them. Prescription writing, who can write prescriptions at your center? The doctor should only be authorized to write prescription. What is the verbal order policy? A lot of time you see that somebody calls up and says these are the features of the patient, and you have to prescribe on phone. So there should be a employee grievance, employee health and safety. These are occupational health. They are your forte, so I will not discuss these in detail. So now we come back to the manuals. Right, so you first should know the statutory requirement, the regulatory requirements which are available online, which are available with us. You should have records, formats, register, which we as a hospital help you to develop. Then you should have complete standard operating procedures and work instructions. And you should document these policies and procedures as per the requirement of your center. And then you should come out with an APEX manual. How to make a manual? I'll just give you a brief, we don't have that much time that we can go into the detail. But I'll tell you that your manual should have the vision and the mission of your organization. It should introduce, any person who is coming new to the organization should be able to read that manual and should be able to find out that what are the values of that organization. It should have hierarchy very clearly. It should have job description, whose job is what. It should have the list of quality indicators. Now this is the most important part which will come in the end, that what are the indicators. Now it should have the list of records. It should have all the numbers. These are just examples that how to give a mission statement, how to give a vision statement to every document. Yes. Now this is the most important part. Nightingale said that the ultimate goal is to manage quality, but you cannot manage it until you have a way to measure it. So that means now you have to assess that how will you measure that your center is delivering quality or not, or the hospital that you are tying up with is delivering quality or not. These are the quality indicators that you must assess. Every department has its own indicators. Like for HR, there is employee satisfaction rate, employee attrition rate, employee absenteeism rate. For infection control team of a hospital, they should be able to tell you that what is the number of UTI or the urinary tract infection, catheter-related blood site infections, and surgical site infection and ventilator-associated pneumonia. So whenever you go to a hospital, ask them these parameters that you've been running a hospital since years. Now tell us what are the various figures that are available with you. If a hospital is quality conscious or if your own center is quality conscious, you should have these figures with you. There are close to 100 indicators that every hospital, every occupational health center which has inpatient facilities should have. Incident of bed source, simple, nursing, percentage of medication charge with eligible writing over a given period of time. You should have complete medical audits of all your files in the medical record department. Inpatient satisfaction index, one of the most important things. Outpatient satisfaction index. We refer a lot of patients for outside for health checkups. Every occupational center does send its employees for health checkups to various facilities. Now, you should find, when you're sending somebody for an OPD kind of investigation, then you must find out what are the OPD satisfaction index of that hospital. I would like to conclude here. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The take-home message is that you must bring quality. I think the time is changing when we must integrate, we must have indicators to prove that whatever we are giving to the patient has quality. And for any feedback or suggestion, you can please email to us. All these, we are ready to help any occupational health center or any hospital with all these formats, registers, and standard operating procedures. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
The scope for occupational center is the same as for any hospital, or is it different?
No, it's different. It basically depends on the number of beds that you have. if you have inpatient
Only
facilities,
occupational center without any inpatient.
if you don't have inpatient facilities, then yes, these are the kind of only OPD based whatever systems you need to have, not the inpatient wise. But what the basic, the take home message?
I think post lunch session is less, and system of the quality, the role of the accredited manuals about the quality side and how to improve the quality. Dear friend, we hope it will be very